Hello. So for this lesson or for this video recording or screen recording, we'll be talking about earth science. Since we are through already with our elementary physics. So in this video recording, I will be presenting to you uh, the concepts about earth science that will be tackling the parts of the earth, the layers of the earth, etc. So let us continue. So when we say earth science is the study of planet, and its changing system as well as the position of the earth to the solar system and to the universe. So ito yung pinag-aaralan natin in earth science. So we try to investigate and generate answers to possible questions like, bakit meron tayong season? So, common question ng mga estudyante is, why is it meron tayong season? Bakit nagbabago yung panahon? So, it can be answerable by earth science. And how can we predict weather or weather condition? Mainit ngayon, tomorrow, what would be the possible weather condition? Okay? And then why is it that the stars are grouped and move together in the night? Okay, nung bata pa tayo, na-observe nyo na at night, akala ninyo nagfa-follow sa atin si Moon while we are walking around. So, ang nangyayari is, akala natin that the Moon is following us. And when we grew up, probably nabago na natin yung misconception na yon. Okay? And what forms a landscape? Bakit merong soil? Saan galing yung soil ni Earth? Okay, saan galing si Earth? So, yun ang pwedeng masagot ng pag-aaral natin in Earth Science. So, Earth Science or studying this field of science covers different branches or sub-branches or sub-disciplines or other disciplines, allied disciplines such as geology. When we say geology, this is the study of our planet. When we say study of the earth, pwede yung structure niya, crust, and composition. Okay, that's geology. When we say meteorology, hindi ito nag-aaral about meteors, but rather, we are talking about atmosphere, weather, and climate. Okay? So, this is part of our meteorology. And then, astronomy naman is the study of the Earth motion and object in the space. So, that's astronomy. And oceanography is the study of oceans. Okay? So, pwede pa siyang pag-aralan natin, yung Earth, according to its main parts, such as lithosphere, which is the solid portion of the Earth. Hydrosphere is the water portion of the Earth. And then the atmosphere is the, of course, gaseous portion or the gases surrounding the Earth. Okay? So, kung tatanungin ninyo kung bakit important ang pag-aaral ng Earth Science, so, studying Earth Science or giving the knowledge on the basics of Earth Science can help an individual forecast potential disaster and save lives and property as well. So, kunyari is, yung bahay nyo pala is located in a earthquake-prone area, nasa fault line pala yung bahay ninyo. Without analyzing this kind of situation, without knowing this basic knowledge that there is or there are possibility of occurrences or occurrence of earthquake in that area, would you still continue building your homes there? Okay, so this is a possible scenario or situation. Why is it that earth science is important? Another one is we can gain access to earth resources. Although humans are trying to exploit more of the resources of the planet, so pwede natin makita dito kung ano yung pwede gamitin, no longer applicable or no longer relevant or no longer available kasi depleted na siya already. And then we can also protect our environment on the basis, or due to the basis that there are lots of things that is happening around and is connected with others as well. So, nag-init ang kondisyon ng panahon. So, ano yung possible na mangyayari sa environment natin? So, ayun. So, later on, we will be talking about that. So, balik tayo. So, for the classification of solar system, so simpleng explanation, ang solar system is composed siya of planets. And ang planets can be categorized either gaseous or gas planets and terrestrial. From the word gaseous, so meaning to say majority or the mass of the composition of that planet is more of gas. Okay? So ano example ng gas planets natin? Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus or Uranus. And then for the terrestrial planet, again, these are the solid planet. So we have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and Pluto. Okay? So let us talk about nature of change. So sa Earth natin is constantly changing because of human activity. What else? Because of the Earth, geologic structure, geologic changes, hydrologic structure, hydrologic changes, atmospheric structure, and atmospheric changes. So, lagi siyang constant state of change. So, madali siyang magbago. And then, we can describe this change as the change of event or occurrence of an event. So, example, why is it that in Africa right now, some parts of Africa are, or even in Saudi Arabia or Middle Eastern countries, they are experiencing snow. So that's very seldom to experience. They experience it 4 times in a decade. So bakit nangyayari yon during this time? So it can be explained by earth science. And this event or the change in condition of properties of substances can occur po in a long run or in a long period of time or pwedeng instantaneous. When we say in a long run, example is climate change. So, climate change is pwedeng long run, pwede din siyang instantaneous. In a long run kasi, those factors or the activities of humankind affected the environment, the humans ngaya were able to contribute more of the climate, of the greenhouse gases. So, that is why there is a climate change. Okay? Pwede din naman siyang instantaneous kasi kahapon mainit, ngayon malamig. So, that's instantaneous change. And we can talk about the rate of change wherein ang rate of change na ito is dinidivide siya ng change in field value and time. And remember, the majority of the change in our planet sometimes takes millions of years, some are millions of years, thousands of years. So it's a very, very long process, slow process. That is why with the mankind advancement, so probability is we can enhance or we can make this process faster. Unfortunately, since this is not normal, so what will happen? There is a possible na may effect din siya kay Earth, yung natural state ni Earth. Okay? So, this is an example. You can see here that up in this picture, I don't know this mountain. So, yung mountain na yon, it was formed, this mountain or mountain ridges was formed or were formed million years ago. Okay? And eventually, it was covered by plants and snow. And you can see here that the plants are growing pa rin. So, probability nito, darating ang point that this mountain can be covered na or will be covered by plant. And the snow here is no longer available or no longer present. Okay, so that is the change that is present in our planet. Again, the rate may be slow or may be fast, or can be fast or can be slow. So when we say cyclic change naman, these are the changes that are repetitive. When we say repetitive, paulit-ulit, or meron siyang pattern. So, some change are singular, meaning hindi na siya naulit. Never na siyang naulit. Okay, meron namang paulit-ulit. Kagaya ng water cycle. So, weather season. So, that is a cyclic change. Pero yung development niya of the land or the soil, pwedeng cyclic siya, pwede din namang singular. Okay? So, we can predict the change by simply looking into the trend. Okay? And tingnan natin yung trend. Kung nauulit siya, that is a cyclic change. But if it is no longer repeated afterwards, so that's a singular change. So, factors involved in change are called variables. Okay? And remember, the greater the observation, the more cyclic yung change. Okay, and the more accurate yung possible prediction. Kagaya ng, bakit merong nakalista si Pag-asa ng alphabetized names ng possible na bagyo? Kasi that's already a cyclic change. You can repeat it and repeat it again and again. You can anticipate that there are more or less 20 or average 20 typhoon a year kasi that is a cyclic pattern that was recorded and were continuously being recorded right now. Okay? So, since we talk about earth science, in this aspect of science, we can have our observation and experimentation to further discover why is it na these natural events are happening. Okay, example is global warming. Global warming is a normal condition. However, it may start from a very, very low na wave or height of the water or ocean water, and eventually halangkaw na or mataas na yung kanyang depth, no? Okay, ulitin ko ulit. So, yun pong halimbawa ng observation and experimentation natin is as the temperature increases, the water or the ocean water increases as well. Okay, to continue. So, in our civilization, there were several cultural contributions that we can use to study the earth. So their contribution are the following. So example, si China were able to keep the records of earliest possible recorded earthquake which happened in 780 BC. Okay, in 200 BC naman, ancient Greeks catalog rocks. So they were able to write down their observation about rocks and minerals that are still relevant to our study of earth science. And the Mayans tracked the celestial movement. That is why baga, in 2012, it was believed by Mayan civilization, if I'm not mistaken, that the earth will be permanently destroyed kasi ma-obtain na ni Earth yung kanyang end of lifespan. Okay? So that is because of they were able to track the celestial movement. Okay, so let us talk about the branches of earth science. So 4 branches po ang earth science. The first one is geology. Nabanggit ko na to kanina, oceanography, meteorology, and astronomy. So let us start with geology. So in geology, we are talking about the origin, history, processes, structure, and solid of the earth. Okay, ano yung mga component niya? So example of this is the one that is presented in the screen, wherein what? The volcanologists are studying the volcanoes. Kasi what is inside the volcano can say something about the history of the earth. Okay? Next is our oceanography. When we say oceanography, this is the study of our ocean. So we can say something after studying You can say something about the Earth while studying the waves, tides, or the currents. Okay? After oceanography is the meteorology, which is the study of the atmosphere, particularly the weather and climate. So example is yung Doppler radar to track the storms. Na ginagamit ng weather forecasters natin from Pag-asa. Okay, next is our astronomy. So in our astronomy, we are talking about the study of universe and beyond the Earth. So remember, astronomy is the first ever science na naka-entice dun sa mga early civilization kasi meron na ding sila observation of what is outside of the Earth at night, with or without tools. Okay, example nito right now is the space exploration. People are trying to discover a livable planet, a habitable planet outside our own planet without realizing that they are spending too much money for those space exploration to find a habitable planet. That huge amount of money can be used to treat the conditions of ailing Earth. Okay? So since we're talking about Earth science as well, so we will be talking also about environmental science. When we say environmental science, we are studying here the way on how human interact with the environment and what is the effects of those interaction to the Earth. So example of that is pollution. So sabi nila, number one contributor si human in terms of pollution. So tama nga yun. Hanggang ngayon, ganun pa rin. So it started during the Industrial Revolution until now, dumadami yung pollutant being contributed every day by humans. And Filipinos rank number 3 ata, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of contribution to plastic waste. In terms of metric tons, millions of metric tons. Okay, another one is loss of biodiversity. Why is it that some organisms are no longer available right now? It's because they were not able to adapt to the changing Earth. Okay? Or probably the existence of humans affected the biodiversity. Okay, and then the use of natural resources as well for sustainability. Okay? Why is it that studying the earth science is important together with the environmental science? Kasi we're trying to understand how natural resources here can be conserved and how to prevent and predict potential disaster. Sa example, kung meron pa tayo mga grasshoppers na available, so they can predict the upcoming weather, change in weather, particularly the storm. When you see grasshopper insects that are flying in the afternoon, you can expect that the day after that afternoon or kina tomorrow, there will be a storm that is impending. Okay, movement, an unexpected movement ngaya or travel of animals that are not normal, kagaya ng makikita mo nagmamigrate yung mga snakes. So, this kind of animal can detect movement or tremor in our Earth geologic surface. So, they can detect na pwede magkaroon ng earthquake, landslide, flooding, etc. Okay? So, that is how important Earth science is. Okay, so for next lesson, we'll be talking about the layer of the atmosphere. Okay, so ang target natin dito is we'll talk about the layers of the atmosphere, differentiate the layers, and explain the significance of this. So remember, tinuro ito na elementary natin hanggang high school. Kung i-compare natin yung hangin ngayon sa atmosphere natin, 78% of that is composed of nitrogen. Okay? Followed by oxygen, that is 21%. And the remaining 3% is comprised of, tama ba ako, 3%? 0.9% is argon, carbon dioxide is 0.035%, and other gases such as neon, helium, krypton, hydrogen, xenon, ozone, and radon is 0.065%. Meaning to say, madaming gases sa atmosphere natin. Now, we don't know na abundant pala or meron kasi we thought that gases in our atmosphere, our atmosphere is just formed by carbon dioxide and oxygen. Okay, so ito yung misconception ng mga bata. Akala nila 78% is composed of oxygen, but it is composed of nitrogen instead. Okay, si Earth natin is merong tatlong layer. So, thermosphere, sa gitna nun, we have 4 layers: thermosphere, mesosphere, stratosphere, and troposphere. In between troposphere and strato is the tropopause. And then, stratosphere and mesosphere is the stratopause. And then, mesosphere, in between of mesosphere and thermosphere is the mesopause. Meaning to say, this is the region, yung may mga pause na yon. This is the region wherein variation of the temperature of the two layer happens. Or yung differences na. Sorry for the noise. Okay, for example, troposphere natin is the lowest layer of the Earth that extends 10 km from the surface. And then 30 km above the Earth's surface is the stratosphere, followed by mesosphere, and then followed by thermosphere. Yung sa labas ni Earth, kung saan naka-float na yung mga space junks, yung mga object natin, mga meteors, etc., asteroids, ang tawag natin doon is exosphere. Okay, so makikita ninyo as the layers of the Earth or layers of the atmosphere increases, the temperature also changes. Why? Because of the underlying processes within the Earth. And of course, since we are protected by ozone layer, there is a possibility na magkaiba yung temperature or atmospheric temperature within the Earth and outside of the Earth. And of course, there is a possibility that temperature is different in terms of the layers of the atmosphere due to several gases that is available per layer. Okay? So, nag-overlap. So, for the troposphere, this is the lowest and thinnest. 16 kilometers siya from the 16 kilometer and 8 kilometer naman siya pag sa North Pole and South Pole. And then 90% ito po ng atmospheric mass, and as the temperature as the layer of troposphere increases from the Earth's surface, nagde-decrease siya with altitude such as 6 degrees centigrade per kilometer. And yung pinaka-medyo mataas niya is 50 degrees centigrade. This is also the region where the weather occurs. So, dito nyo makikita yung ulap. Pag nasa taas kayo nakasakay kayo sa aeroplano, dito nyo makikita yung ulap. So, that region is the troposphere. And then, may tinatawag tayong tropopause. This is the boundary between troposphere and stratosphere. Okay? Next is the stratosphere. When you say stratosphere, this is the region wherein it extends 10 km to 50 km above the ground. Konti na lang ang water vapor dito. And of course, it increases pa rin yung temperature. And no weather occurrence na dito. Plus, this is the region that contains the ozone layer. Okay? So, ayan, yung may pink na color ang stratosphere. Okay, so yung pinakaitaas na to ng cloud natin, this is the stratosphere. Ano po? So dito nyo din makikita yung comparison between tropo and stratosphere. in terms of the height from the ground. Okay, or the altitude. Okay, next is the mesosphere. When we say mesosphere, this extends to almost 80 km high above the ground. So, less dense na dito ang gas. So, kung nandito kayo, nahulog kayo dito, or kunyari, nananaginip kayo na nasa mesosphere kayo, so, you're probably not able to breathe. Kasi, kasi there are less dense gases here. So, ang temperature naman dito decreases kasi malayo na siya kay surface of the earth. Okay, and in this region, very low ang concentration ng gas, kaya mataas pa rin ang concentration dito ng UV radiation. Okay, so you can see the picture that mesosphere is within 350 km above the ground. So, ayan. Next region or the layers of the earth is the thermosphere. Okay, so this is about 600 km high above the ground. So, ito na yung lugar kung saan nasa labas na siya ni Earth. Nasa outer space ka na. So, thermosphere. Hindi pa pala. So, nandito yung boundary between the exosphere or labas ni Earth and the atmosphere of the Earth. So, mataas na dito ang temperature, of course, kasi directly heated by the sun na din ito. And particularly, the solar radiation is available here, and the temperature of this region can go as much as 1,500 degrees centigrade. And in this region, nagre-reflect yung ating radio waves. Okay, so that is sabi dito, the temperature change with the height of the thermosphere. Okay, next is nakikita nyo siguro to, or this is one of the bucket list ni Sir. Although this is very expensive. So this is Aurora Borealis and Australis. Okay? So pag Australis, may Australia, kung tama ko, and Borealis is sa may North Pole. Okay, bakit nagkakaiba yung color? Kasi nagkakaroon ng wind current or ng convection, nagkakaroon ng differences or nagsasalubong dito yung ibang temperature. Nagkakasalubong yung cold wind and hot wind here, or may convection of air. Kaya makikita ninyo na nagkakaroon siya ng kakaibang liwanag. So wala ito sa tropical region. So, huwag kayong mag-expect nito sa tropical region. Kasi this happens only in limited spaces. And of course, going to these places having aurora are so expensive. Okay? Next is the exosphere. When we say exosphere, this is the interface or interface between the Earth and the space. So, nasa labas na to ni space. Dito na nakalutang-lutang ang mga satellite natin, mga asteroids, meteors, etc. Okay, and atoms and molecules can escape to space, pero they will not become dense. So, pwedeng magkaroon ng escaping of hangin outside of the Earth, pero hindi siya dense. So, hindi ka pa rin makakahinga doon. Okay, so this extend up to above 350 km. Okay, so let us talk about the structure of the atmosphere. Why is it na kailangan natin ng structure ni atmosphere? Just imagine there is no atmosphere at all. So probably tutong tayo or uling na tayo ngayon. Okay? Because also ultraviolet radiation pa lang can be so devastating. Okay, sorry for that. So, since the stratospheric ozone is very essential to our planet and to our survival as living organism, may kita natin na yung tinuro ko na layers of the Earth, particularly the layers of the atmosphere, is so essential in preventing the ultraviolet radiation to be absorbed by our Earth's surface. That is why ang ozone depletion is so detrimental to our survival. So, in order for us to avoid climate change, global warming, and greenhouse gases, kasi nalalabot or nabubutas ang ozone layer, so we need to reduce the chlorofluorocarbons emission. So, and these kind of or the CFCs are the set or several kind of gaseous substance na once nakarating siya sa may ozone layer, it can nabubutas niya yung ozone layer. Okay, so that is why it is very important to reduce our consumption of CFCs or chlorofluorocarbons. Okay? And of course, since our major concern for the environmental science is the ozone depletion, so ang problema natin, if there is an ozone layer depletion na or ozone depletion, yung radiation cannot be filtered by the ozone layer. That is why we can directly receive the ultraviolet radiation. That is so dangerous or detrimental to our, sorry for the noise. So again, this ozone layer depletion causes the CFCs to break down and eventually madideplete na niya si ozone. So again, si CFC, yung kanyang component, yung chemical structure ng kanyang mga molecules, pag nagiwaiwala yung molecules niya, it can release a chlorine atom that can react with the ozone, which is O3, that will form chlorine oxide or ClO and oxygen gas or oxygen gas. And eventually, pag nakasama to sa rain, magkakaroon ka pa ng acid rain. Okay? Let's talk about global warming. When we say global warming, this is an increase in Earth's average surface temperature. Parang nilalagnat si Earth. Ganon. Di ba tayo, right now, since may pandemic, we're measuring our daily temperature. Pagpasok sa trabaho, may temperature check. Pagpasok sa establishment, may temperature check. So, kung nausugin siya kay Earth, pataas yung temperature ng Earth. That is because of global warming. So, global warming is the increase of Earth's average surface temperature that is caused by the increase in greenhouse gases. And eventually, ang tawag na natin doon is greenhouse effect. So what is greenhouse effect? This is the trapping of the heat by gases. So yung greenhouse gases natin being emitted by the factories, by our automobiles, by our household equipments, our homes itself. So ang nangyayari, we are releasing carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, chlorofluorocarbons, and water vapor to our atmosphere. And eventually, nagiging siyang parang another layer of the air that prevents the heat that is being reflected. So yung heat kasi natin, nagba-bounce back siya palabas ulit kay Earth. Kasi kung magsistay yung init dito sa loob ng Earth, mamamatay tayo kasi magiging siyang mataas na mataas. So example niyan is si Mercury. Mataas yung temperature nila, and si Venus. So, since greenhouse gases traps the heat from escaping, so eventually, ang nangyayari is, it will bounce back continuously and eventually, tataas lalo yung temperature ng Earth. Okay? And what are the effects of greenhouse gas pollution? The first one is the global warming, kung saan natutunaw na yung ice in polar caps. So, tumataas yung water level sa ocean natin kasi natutunaw yung mga ice sa polar regions. And then water in the ocean expands, flooding in lowlands will happen. and then changes in the weather patterns will be observed. Okay, so that would be all. Thank you so much for listening. Probably I will have other set of lecture for what? For the Earth structure and composition. So about lithosphere naman yung pag-uusapan natin. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig.